Hello, Fi Guys. I'm writing because I'm at a major crossroad in my financial journey, and I could really use some perspective before I make my next big move. So here's the deal. I'm currently in a full-on beast mode, paying off debt. And when I say beast mode, I mean every spare dollar is being thrown at the balances, like I'm trying to put out a 5-alarm fire. For context, I work in AI technology, the kind of job that sounds cooler at dinner parties than it actually is. My base pay has me bringing in about $18,000 every month after
Holy
maxing
shit.
out my 401k and HSA contributions. Plus, I get another 45k in bonuses throughout the year. On paper, I'm doing well. But here's the part that makes me want to grab a sledgehammer and go to war with my statements. This year alone, I've already slain 16k in credit card debt with a painful 29% interest rate and 16k in personal loans at 14% interest rate. Right now, I'm staring down my next target, a camper loan. Original balance 33,000 at 12% interest. I've got it down to $15,600, but if I keep my foot on the gas, I can pay it off by the end of the month. What a treat. That's beautiful. The rest of the debt lineup isn't pretty either. Sports car loan, 80k at 70% interest. Yes, I love it. No, I'm not ready to sell it yet. Understandable. And a mortgage. And in this letter, he just says the usual. Here's the mental tug of war. If I pay off the camper van this month, I'll only have about $2,000 left in the bank after covering all my bills. $2,000. That's the whole emergency fund. Basically, I'm one unexpected vet bill or car repair away from being wiped out. That makes me very uneasy, and my brain keeps screaming, you need a safety net. But my other side says, why let the bank keep sucking you dry with high interest when you could knock this debt out right here, right now? So here's my dilemma. Do I slow down my debt payoff, set aside 10k in cash reserves so I can sleep at night? I think you might have your answer there. And then go back into attack mode? Or do I keep sprinting, live with near empty in the bank account for now, and comfort myself with the fact that I'm saving a ton of interest every month? Would love to hear you guys' take on this, because right now I'm flipping a mental coin every day on what to do. From debt's almost gone, but my cash is withdrawn. How about that one? Well, this guy's killing it. He's killing it. On paper, making a great living in an up-and-coming field. Got a little bit of debt to take care of, but sounds like he has a big enough faucet to kind of splash all this debt right down the river. So I think I know what you're going to say, Chris, but feel free. Let's drop some knowledge on him. What do you think?
Yeah, and before we get into my rant about this, I first want to talk a little bit about, I think when our listeners hear this, it's not very common that we have someone who writes in with such a high income. You know, these guys making about $20,000 a month after maxing out his 401k and HSA. So that means he's also saving like an additional 30 grand somewhere else. Not every month, but over the course of the year. So I think when people hear that, they go like, oh, this person doesn't have money problems. But this person's money problems, even with a high income, are still money problems. Problems are still problems. Yes, they might not be as big of a problem as how am I going to pay for my rent next month or how am I going to eat next month, but everyone has problems. And the worst thing you've ever been through is the worst thing you've ever been through. Before I get into my rant about what we can do about this, I do just want to ask our listener, it sounds like you've had a great income, and that's so good. I'm really proud of you for doing what you did and going into such a lucrative field. And I'm worried that it sounds like you have more of a spending issue than a making money issue. How does someone who's making $20,000 a month end up in this much debt? Maybe it was before, but I kind of doubt it. And if we don't start to focus on fixing these problems now, they're going to exacerbate in the future. Because what I always like to tell people is that a good income is really good at hiding problems. But they only hide those problems for so long. Once the income stops, the problems start to compound really, really fast. So you need to be able to take charge of your life. You need to be able to take charge of your money and stop spending completely recklessly. Not saying the camper is reckless, not saying the mortgage is reckless, but when someone's making $20,000 a month and they still have credit card debt, I'm curious as to what the hell is going on. Dominic, before I get into my rant, what do you think?
Man, it's a good problem to have a lot of money coming in, but that's not the problem. Maybe I'm just fantasizing it. But yeah, $20,000 a month coming in, roughly, because I know there's like you said, the HSA and the 401k maxing everything out. It's nice to have a lot coming in, but like you said, Chris, I mean, sometimes more money is more problems. Paraphrasing, of course, but no, I think you're right. You know, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you have the discipline to keep a lot of money. My dad always said the saying growing up, it's not how much you have, it's not how much you make, it's how much you have, right? It's how much you keep, how much you save, right? There can be a person making $100,000 a year, right? But if they spend $95,000 at the end of the year, they only have $5,000 left. And the guy working at Burger King, he saves $10,000 a year. Well, I hate to say it, but the guy at Burger King, he's saving more than the guy who's making $100K. So this is why we kind of say, this is a prime example, not to shame this guy at all, but this is a prime example of why we say, don't wait for when you make money, big money, to start having good financial habits. One, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But two, you start these habits early so that you can build momentum with them. That way, they're not habits. They're just who you are. Like, Chris, you go to the gym. It's not a habit you're trying to keep up because I'm on a 30-day streak. It's like, no, you go to the gym because you're a healthy person. You want to better yourself, better your life, better your mind, body, and spirit. That's who you are. And for people in situations like this, where it's like, you know, hey, I make a lot of money, but I don't have a lot of money at the end of the day. Well, that's why it's so important to build those great financial habits early on. But in this case, we don't have a time machine. And if we did, well, I'd go back and stop some stuff. But that being said, for this guy, I like the idea of paying off the debt. I don't deny that. I'm not a big fan of the banks. I love sticking it to the banks, right? But what I love more than sticking to the banks is getting quality sleep, right? Getting the best sleep, waking up well rested. I mean, I don't want to say you can't put a price on great sleep, but it seems like in this case, you almost can put a price on great sleep. Another month is not going to kill you in interest. I think that's just a psychological thing. Granted, yeah, the bank is making more money off you. Congrats. Everybody is making more money off you, right? Starbucks, you know, your car insurance, everybody is making money somewhere, right? It's just goods and services. So I don't think one should get tied up in the numbers too much. Life can be so unexpected, right? You're saying like $2,000 left, a vet bill could wipe you out. What if you have to go to the hospital and you know you have to go to like the ICU or something insane? What if something really big happens? 2,000 really isn't gonna. So it's like even vet bills are expensive, but let's go even extreme. You know, it's like let's dial it up a notch. I think you should keep more in reserve because you never know what tomorrow is gonna carry, and it's just so unpredictable these days. It's always been unpredictable, but that's kind of my take. I think he should hold off. I don't think he should short himself. I think it's important to keep the safety net strong, right? If you were running into battle in, 12th century, 16th century, back in the day when they had armor and swords, would you take off your armor and run into battles because it made you quicker? No. You keep the safety of the armor on and you move at the pace you're moving, and you'll get there when you get there. There's no need to rush it in order to sacrifice everything else for a little bit more speed. That's my take on it. Chris, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I'll get into that. But I was going to say one thing when it comes to financial independence that's great, and it's so often overlooked. The one of the best ways to be quote unquote good with money, just have a bit more patience. Just have a little bit more patience. So many people get killed because they want it right now. And I get why we have that. And the amount of people that got wiped out because they want it right now is just astronomical. So to our listener, first off, I want to give you big props. You've taken a massive chunk out of your high interest debt in a short time. And the reason in such a short time is because you have such an amazing income. That doesn't mean that you're just disciplined when it comes to paying off your debt. It's a full money transformation that's coming in progress. And that means that, how did I get myself into this debt? That's something you need to look into and figure that out now, because if your income produces higher and higher, it's going to get harder. And if it gets worse, it's going to get harder. So I would rather figure it out now than to wait. But when it comes to you feeling uneasy about only having $2,000 in the bank, you're not wrong to feel uneasy. That is financial independence anxiety. It's smart awareness. A true emergency fund is what keeps you from sliding backwards in case, like Dominic said, something bad happens. A vet bill, a medical disaster, a car crash. This is how people with super high incomes can still end up in the same exact spot that someone with very low incomes. So when you ask the question, do I pay off my debt or do I have safety net? Oh, that kind of rhymed. It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Yes, mathematically, the higher interest debt should go first. But psychologically, having even 1 or 2 months of expenses in cash can keep you from making some panic decision if something bad does happen. Because with your income level, you maybe don't need a full 6-month emergency fund right now. Especially if you work in machine learning, if you work in AI, I'm going to guess that you're pretty in demand. So even if you did lose your job for whatever, you're probably going to be able to get another one. I don't know how long that's going to go for. I don't know if at some point the programs you're running are going to take your job away. But for right now, you're in high demand. So stick with it. And also know that this ride doesn't last forever. With the amount of money that you make, you can build your reserves fast. But I'd still recommend having at least $10,000 to $20,000 set aside before you start emptying out your debt, because you need to have that little bit of extra money. You're exactly right that the sports car with a 7% loan should probably be your next priority after the camper, but I'd still pause on rebuilding that cash buffer before you go after that car loan. Instead of having 1 to 2 months, let's have 3 to 4 months before we go after the car. Start to build up that stockpile. And I'm not saying just go ahead and put it in your high yield savings account or watch it go at 1% per year and be all pissed off about that. Put it into a money market account. Put it into short-term bonds. You have the ability to do these things. Right now, the credit card are your number one enemy. Then after that, yeah, probably the camper. But I think the biggest enemy that you have right now is your inability to sleep at night because of your concern of falling backwards, because of your concern of something going wrong at night. You have a super rare advantage. A high steady income, pre-tax contributions that are already in place. You can afford to be aggressive, but the key is doing it in a way that keeps you sleeping at night. Because the longer that we go without sleep, the longer we go feeling scared, the higher the chance of making a big decision that's going to fail us. It goes higher and higher, exponentially higher, the longer we go. So our final takeaways for our listener from me is debt freedom is a sprint for you, but financial security is a marathon. Pay down the camper, pay down the credit cards, pay down the car, sure. And build a cushion, and then you can get rid of crushing the rest of them. Your mental peace is worth so much more than saving a few dollars on interest rate. And with that, I mean, congrats from Arizona and California. You sounds like you're really crushing it. So please keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And watch out for that lifestyle inflation, as always.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.